A lot of people don't know that much about the Independent Party. Majority of you probably won't even know who the next candidate is, and that's okay. Don't blame yourself. Blame the government and the Founding Fathers. The Founding Fathers created only a two political party system. Throughout the years, candidates have broken away from these two political party systems and started their own parties. We call this the Independent Party. However, they do not get as much funding or get the same treatment as Republicans and Democrats. So we usually don't hear that much about independent candidates until we start doing our research. Hello, my name is Raynell Edison, also known as Freedom Fighter, and thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel, The World Changer. I have a great show for you tonight. Today I will be talking about Gary Johnson's political views. In my last video, I talked about Trump's political views. If you have not seen that video, I will leave the link in the description down below for you can watch it. The views that I will be talking about today is immigration, abortion, guns, foreign policy, taxes, gay marriage, economy and jobs, civil liberty, crime and safety, environment, education, budget and spending, national security, Medi-Cal and Social Security, energy. Without further ado, let's get on with our show. On the first issue of immigration, Mr. Johnson supports immigration. When asked the question, should undocumented immigrants in the United States be allowed to become legal residents, he said, I think we should make it easy as possible for everyone who wants to come into the country and work to get a work visa. I'm not talking about a green card. The solution is to create a moving line. Moving on to the next issue of abortion, Mr. Johnson supports abortion. When asked the question, should parent consent be required for pregnant minors to have abortion, he said, I support women's rights. He also said, I support the motion of parent notification. Moving on to the next issue of gun laws, Mr. Johnson is against gun laws. When asked the question, should more gun control laws be enhanced, he said, I am in the camp that if an outlaw gun, only the criminals are going to have guns. I support permits and concealed carry of firearms in New Mexico. Moving on to the next issue of foreign policy, Mr. Johnson is against foreign policy. When asked the question, is China an economic or military threat to the United States, he said, when people understand the United States spends 52 cents out of the worldwide dollar on military spending and that China spends 9 cents, what arm race are we going to engage them in? I mean, really, is China a threat? No, they're not. Moving on to the next issue of taxes, Mr. Johnson supports taxes. He recently said we need to get rid of the income taxes. We need to stop taxing workers, savings, and investment. I advocate removing all income taxes, all capital gain taxes, and replace them with a national sales tax called the fair tax. Moving on to the next issue of gay marriage, Mr. Johnson supports gay marriage. When asked the question, was the U.S. Supreme Court decision legalizing same-sex marriage a good decision, he said responsible adults will be free to marry whom they want, arm themselves in what they want, make their own decision about their body, and lead their personal life as they see fit, as long as no harm is done to others. Moving on to the next issue of health care, Mr. Johnson supports health care. When asked the question, should any vaccines be required for children, he said, I've come to find out that without mandatory vaccine, that the vaccine that would in fact be issued will not be effective. It dependent that you have mandatory vaccine so that every children is immune. Otherwise, not all children will be immune even though they receive a vaccine. So in my opinion, this is a local issue. If it ends up to the federal issue, I would come down to the side of science, and I would probably require that vaccine. Moving on to the next issue of economy and jobs. Mr. Johnson supports economy and jobs. When asked the question, does lowering the income tax rate create jobs? He said, adopting the tax reform Governor Johnson advocates will literally create millions of jobs. While most politicians, Democrats and Republicans alike, suggest that reduction in business taxes might create jobs, Gary Johnson believes eliminating income taxes on businesses will transform the United States into the job magnet of the world. Moving on to the next issue of civil liberty. Mr. Johnson supports civil liberty. When asked the question, should the presidential debate include third-party candidates, he said, America has the ability to do this. Get me into the political debate, he said. Get the liberal nominee for president in the political debate. Moving on to the next issue of crime and safety. Mr. Johnson is against crime and safety. Moving on to the next issue of environment. Mr. Johnson supports environment. When asked the question, is human activity responsible for global climate change? He said, I accept the fact that there is global warming, and I accept the fact that it is man-caused. That said, I am opposed to cap and trade. I am a free market guy. When it comes to clean environment, the number one factor when it comes to clean environment is a good economy. Moving on to the next issue of education. Mr. Johnson is against education. When asked the question, should any public college or university be tuition free? He said, I would not believe that college or university should be free. So, from a federal standpoint, they would be too expensive for a federal standpoint. If states want to do that, of course, that's their prerogative. But should they be free? No, they shouldn't be free. In my opinion, the high cost of college tuition has everything to do with guaranteed student loans. Moving on to the next issue of budget and spending. Mr. Johnson is against budget and spending. When asked the question, should the federal minimum wage be increased? He said, I think we're missing the boat. Why don't we raise it to $75 an hour? Well, of course we can't raise it to $75 an hour because then prices would go way up and nobody would be able to hire anyone. Moving on to the next issue of national security. Mr. Johnson is against national security. When asked the question, should the U.S. have attacked Iraq in 2003, he said, I was opposed to us going into Iraq from the beginning. I really thought that there was no threat to our national security. I really thought that if we went into Iraq, we would have found ourselves in a civil war that which there would be no end. And I thought we had the military capability to see Iraq roll out any weapons of mass destruction. And if they would have done that, we would have gone in and dealt with it. Moving on to the next issue of Medi-Cal and Social Security. Mr. Johnson is against Medi-Cal and Social Security. When asked the question, should the federal government guarantee paid family and medical leave, he said, I will be opposed to that. He's basically saying that he don't support that decision. Moving on to the next issue and the last issue of energy. Mr. Johnson supports energy. When he was asked the question, should fracking be allowed? He said, I have spoken to my former environmental secretary. I thought he was terrific. And what he said regarding fracking is that it's only 10% effective, that there is an environmental concern. Well, that concludes today's show. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Next week, I'll be talking about Jill Stein's political views. Remember that I'll be posting 2 videos a week leading up to the election. So stay tuned later this week to find a video on Jill Stein. You're welcome. If I get 150 likes on this video, I will do a reaction video to Gary Johnson's political views. So if you are interested in what I have to say, please hit that like button. This election year is important, so important that we should all know who we are voting for. So share this video on your social media accounts and also subscribe. Please subscribe. Like I said before, I have a lot of fun and interesting topics coming up. So make sure to hit that subscribe and notification button so therefore you will not miss out on any videos. Until next time, this has been Raynell Anderson, also known as Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel, The World Changer. Remember, we can change the world one person at a time. See you later.